Satyajit Ray cinema is a form of poetry in motion. Ray believed that cinema's characteristic forte is the ability to capture and communicate the intimacies of the human mind. Indeed, he treated every gesture and silence as precious. Every smile, every tear, and every sigh spoke volumes. Jean Renoir once called him the father of the Indian cinema, and Ray wore the title humbly. His films were born of Bengal soil and Tagore's vision, yet they reached a universal height.
তত বেশি জানে তত কম মানে ঠিক কি না ঠিক ঠিক
In Hirokrasat Deshe, Rai's wit dances with wisdom, ostensibly a sequel to his whimsical Gopi Bagha fantasy. This film expertly depicts a fierce political allegory cloaked as a children's fairy tale. It tells of a megalomaniac Hirok Raja who enslaves his people to his will, conveyed by Rai using mindless rhymes and music. In the midst of oppressive regime, a school teacher Udan Pondit carries the brunt of education and free thought, teaching children the important art of asking questions. Made right after India's emergency of 1975 to 1977, the film was a scathing conviction of authoritarian rule. Rai's artistry is at play here, melding effortlessly satire and fantasy.
The film is full of catchy songs with fiery, pointed lyrics. Rai slipped social criticism into seemingly light sequences of Mogos Dholai, so ridiculously made, so that even a child senses the absurdity of blind obedience. Although set in a fictional past, Hirok Rajar Deshe feels urgent today. Rai imagined that in any age, the ordinary person must resist tyranny, and this film still delights and instructs new generations. It is as enchanting as a children's adventure and as brave as any serious political drama.
By contrast, Nayok turns the camera inwards. Rai constructs it almost entirely on a moving train as two strangers chat their way across India. The hero is Arindam Mukherjee, a matinee idol played with astonishing depth by Uttam Kumar. The heroines of this story, his own fears. As the train rolls on, Arindam reveals fragment by fragment the burdens he carries, his lonely childhood, guilt over a family tragedy, anxiety over failure. Rai's theme is the gap between legend and humanity. In Nayok, the superstar is laid bare as a simple man with half shades of doubt and pain. The cinematography underscores this intimacy, framing Arindam in close-ups so that the viewer almost feels the weight of his confession.
There are no musical members here, except one haunting dream sequence in which Arindam finds himself slowly sinking into a pit of money. This almost subliminal image conveys his fear of being consumed by greed and success. It is the only vivid departure from the otherwise austere realism of the film. In an age of celebrity fixation, Ray's films is all the more symbolic. Just as Aditi forces Arindam to reflect, Nayok forces us to reflect on our own heroes. What we gain in Ray's subtle words is the understanding that the golden image of the star is at core human.
একটু আগে তো আপনি নিজেকে সর্বভুক বললেন। তা আপনি মানুষের মাংস খেয়েছেন?
হ্যাঁ, সেই সৌভাগ্য আমার হয়নি।
সৌভাগ্য?
শুনেছি নরমাংস সুস্বাদু, কিন্তু আমি খাইনি। ওই সর্বভুক বলাটা মিথ্যে বলা হয়ে গেছে মা। অপরাধ নিও না।
তো এই ক্যানিবালিজমকে আপনি সভ্যতার কোন স্তরে ফেলবেন?
সভ্য? সভ্য কোথায়? বর্বর, বাবেরিক। সভ্যকে জানেন? সভ্য হচ্ছে সেই মানুষ যে আঙুলের একটি চাপে, একটি বোতাম টিপে, একটি ব্রহ্মাস্ত্র নিক্ষেপ করে সমস্ত অধিবাসী সমেত একটা গোটা শহরকে নিশ্চিহ্ন করে দিতে পারে। আর সভ্যকারা জানেন? যারা এই অস্ত্র প্রয়োগের সিদ্ধান্ত নিতে পারে উইদাউট টার্নিং এ হেয়ার।
Aguntuk is Ray's final philosophical puzzle. Here, the stages is a modern Calcutta home, and the players are an entire middle class family. The strangers of the title arrives one day claiming to be a long lost uncle returned from travels abroad. This gentle adventurer, Monomohan Mithro, has a simple airs of a knowing grandfather and carries a mysterious air from his 35 years on the road. Through calm conversations and well chosen anecdotes, the stranger soon begins to question everything the family holds dear. On the surface, the film is a light domestic drama. At its core, Ray unspools a critic of modern values. Throughout Aguntuk, Monomohan gently, almost playfully, dismantles the elite family's prejudices. He praises tribal cultures for their wisdom, questions blind materialism, and even suggests that our very definition of civilized is backward.
One of his characters delivers a line that could have come straight from Rai's own mouth. I do not believe in anything that divides man. Religion does it, and organized religion does it certainly, he says. Rai stages much of it in a single dinner party, relying on rich dialogues and meaningful looks rather than spectacle. Utpal Datta's performance as the uncle is quietly magnetic. He embodies a worldly wisdom that softens the family's sharp edges. In the end, when the stranger simply leaves a check behind as payment, saying it is of little or no value, the gesture is both rebuke and a lesson. Even today, as we wrestle with globalization and identity, Rai's enduring message is that curiosity, honesty, and compassion should guide us, not fear. In that sense, Aguntuk remains a thoughtful mirror for a modern world that sometimes forgets the simple truth of human unity.
Perhaps Rai's most beloved heroine is Charulata of his 1964 film Charulata, The Lonely Wife. Set in a drawing room of colonial Calcutta, it follows a young woman confined by polite society and a stifling marriage. Charu is intelligent and passionate, but her husband seems to her only as a silent partner. When a charming cousin Amol comes to a visit, a gentle romance blooms. They share poetry and music, and Charu's own talent as a writer and thinker comes to life. Rai explores the theme of creative yearning and female agency. He frames Charulata's inner world with exquisite care. In one famous shot, Charu sits on a swing, suspended against the sky, her expression a mix of longing and resolve.
In another, the camera slowly revolves around a spinning plate in the foreground as she looks on through a window, symbolizing her life's spinning desires. The film also quietly addresses the birth of the new woman in India. Charulata stands at the cusp of modernity. At home, she is bound by tradition, but in her private moments, she hungers for literature and freedom. Rai adapts Tagore's story with empathy, and in doing so, he crafts a heroine who feels as universal as she is particular. Even now, viewers see their own struggles in her eyes, and Rai's artistry makes her quiet rebellion unforgettable.
Why do Satyajit Ray's films continue to draw audiences decades after they were made? The answer lies in his timeless storytelling and profound empathy. Ray was a master of the simple truth. He portrayed social realism and humanistic themes with crystal clarity. He crafted characters who are ordinary, flawed, and relatable so that viewers immediately see themselves in Charulata's loneliness or Arindam's fear. Rai's attention to detail, the sound of an old lady's voice, the patterns of a poet's notebook, fills every scene with emotional depth, inviting us into the characters' inner lives.
And his idealism shines through. He once declared that the only solutions that are ever worth anything are the solutions that people find themselves. His films trust the audience to reflect, to question, to find meaning. When a new viewer discovers Pothir Pachali or Hirok Rajar Deshe, they often respond not just to the stories, but to the honesty behind them. In that way, Ray feels accessible, a grandmaster who always speaks softly, whose camera is a compassionate friend.
For generations yet to come, those answers will echo through his films. In the hushed light of his final frames, we feel there is hope. Thus, even in Elegy, Ray's vision is alive. He is not gone, but lives in every frame that teaches us about love, loss, wonder, and the unbreakable thread of humanity. In celebrating his genius, we also celebrate all the lives and stories he so tenderly illuminated. An eternal father of cinema, whose lantern still guides the way.
This year, the Academy Board of Governors has voted to award an honorary Oscar to the great Indian filmmaker Satyajit Ray.